What if I told you that the recent catastrophic outage of X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, wasn't just a server hiccup? What if I told you that it was a tremor, a seismic event beneath the surface of our digital world, exposing cracks in a system you thought was utterly unshakable? Most people have absolutely no idea what's really about to happen. They saw a social media site go dark. They saw a billionaire CEO, Elon Musk, frantically posting about fixes. They rolled their eyes, they laughed, they moved on with their day, perhaps grateful for a digital detox. But they're missing the bigger picture, the much, much darker game being played out on a scale that transcends the mere inconvenience of a downed app. Because what you witnessed was more than just an outage. It was a moment of profound revelation. A flashpoint that exposed not just the inherent fragility of a single platform, but the terrifying vulnerability of the entire global information architecture that governs our lives. And at the very heart of this digital storm, Elon Musk, the self-proclaimed free speech absolutist, trapped, caught in a web of his own making, his grand vision for an everything app momentarily reduced to nothing. A paradox playing out in real time for all the world to see, if only they knew how to look beyond the surface. By the time you finish this video, you won't just understand why X went down. You'll understand the intricate, unseen mechanics of power that are always relentlessly at play. You'll see how the very fabric of truth itself is woven, unraveled, and then restitched by unseen hands. And to recognize the true masterstroke, the insidious plan that has been silently unfolding for decades, now reaching its critical, undeniable apex. This isn't about tech. This isn't about Elon. This is about you. It's about what you see, what you believe, and what you're allowed to know. And the stakes? Stakes couldn't be higher. This is about the very future of truth, information, and ultimately democracy itself. Let's rewind to that moment. The day X went dark. For hours, users across the globe stared at blank screens, frustrating error messages, the digital equivalent of a ghost town stretching across continents. For some, it was a minor inconvenience, a momentary break from the endless scroll. But for millions of others, it was a lifeline severed. Small businesses relying on immediate communication with customers suddenly cut off. Activists coordinating movements for human rights, silenced. Families connecting across vast distances, their digital bridge vanished. Journalists breaking crucial stories, their primary distribution channel gone. All of it gone, just like that. And the irony, the delicious, bitter, almost poetic irony, was not lost on those paying attention. This was Elon Musk's X, the platform he vowed to transform into the ultimate global town square, the undisputed bastion of free speech. A place where every voice, every idea, no matter how controversial, would not only have a home, but a guaranteed audience. He paid $44 billion for that vision. $44 billion to break the chains of perceived censorship, to dismantle the gatekeepers, to unshackle information from the clutches of the old establishment. He told us he was buying freedom. He told us he was building the everything app. And then it all vanished in a puff of digital smoke. The very definition of irony. A single point of failure, a fundamental vulnerability, the precise antithesis of what a truly decentralized, free speech platform should inherently avoid. And make no mistake, this was not just a random server crash, an unfortunate bug in the system. This was a moment of profound exposure, because in that digital blackout, something else, something far more insidious was exposed to, something they have worked for decades to keep hidden. You see, for centuries, maybe even millennia, a certain playbook has been in operation. A quiet, relentless, almost invisible strategy to shape what you think, what you feel, and what you believe. And it has always centered on one thing: controlling the flow of information, controlling the narrative. Think about it. From the dawn of civilization, power has understood this fundamental, unyielding truth. He who controls the narrative controls the people. The pharaohs had their hieroglyphs, carved in stone, immutable decrees. Emperors had their scribes, painstakingly documenting history as they saw fit. The church had its illuminated manuscripts, its pulpits, its unquestionable doctrines. Every age, every empire, every powerful institution understood this core principle: belief is the ultimate currency. Control belief, and you control everything. And how do you control belief? It's elegantly simple. You control the story. When the printing press arrived in the 15th century, it was heralded as a revolution, and it was. Information exploded. But soon enough, the powerful learned to leverage it. Pamphlets, newspapers, journals, all became tools. Tools to disseminate their version of events. Tools to shape public opinion. The narratives were crafted with precision, polished to perfection, and then broadcast with an ever-increasing reach. Then came radio. Then came television. Each new wave of technology, each new medium of mass communication was not destroyed, but subtly and systematically co-opted, absorbed into the existing power structure. The talking heads, the carefully curated news reports, the subtle biases woven into every segment, the glaring omissions that spoke louder than any words. It was a masterclass in manufacturing consent. No need for overt censorship, no need for totalitarian bans. Just control the channels, control the storytellers, control the flow, control the narrative. They built an echo chamber so vast, so pervasive, so deeply ingrained in the societal fabric that most people never even realized they were in it. They didn't see the walls. They only heard the echoes, echoes of the accepted truth, the official line, the narrative they wanted you to believe. And for a long, long time it worked beautifully, flawlessly, almost invisibly. They told you who to trust. They told you what to fear. They told you what was real, what was good, what was real, what was right. And you believed them. We all believed them. Because where else were you going to get your information? From the 3 major networks broadcasting nightly into every living room, from the established newspapers delivered to your doorstep with their authoritative headlines, from the carefully selected experts and authoritative voices they presented, it was a neatly packaged reality delivered directly to your home, consumed without question. This was their playbook, a meticulously crafted, brilliantly executed strategy to guide the collective consciousness, to ensure stability, to maintain the status quo, to preserve power, whatever its form. And it went largely unquestioned, undetected, for generations. But then something happened, a shift, a tremor in the force, the internet, the great disruptor. For a glorious, chaotic, dizzying moment, it promised to shatter that control. It promised to decentralize everything. Everyone a publisher, everyone a journalist. The old gatekeepers, the old institutions suddenly looked vulnerable. Suddenly, you could speak directly to the world. You could share information without permission. You could challenge the accepted narrative from your bedroom. It was a direct bypass of the old system. And for a while, it was a wild, exhilarating ride. Social media platforms, especially Twitter, became the front line of this new decentralized information war. They were supposed to be the ultimate expression of democratic discourse, where ideas clashed, where truths emerged from the messy, often uncivilized crucible of public debate. The individual, empowered, the narrative, uncontrolled, or so it seemed. But the powerful are not easily dislodged. They are not easily dislodged. They are not easily dislodged. They are not easily defeated. They adapt. And they began to understand that if they couldn't control the spigot of information, they could control the platform itself. If they couldn't stop the flow, they could dam the river, or at least divert its course, shape its banks, control its current. So the new gatekeepers emerged. Not always people, but algorithms, fact-checkers, content moderators, terms of service, all designed ostensibly to protect you from misinformation, from hate speech, from harmful content. Noble intentions, perhaps, on the surface. Who could argue with protecting people from harm? But beneath that surface, another objective, a far more chilling objective, began to crystallize, to re-establish control, to re-engineer the flow, to once again shape your belief. They started labeling, they started suppressing, they started deplatforming. Not just fringe voices, not just genuine bad actors, but increasingly, anyone who dared to challenge the prevailing narrative on sensitive topics. The new echo chamber was built not by explicit, heavy-handed censorship, but by algorithmic manipulation. By subtle nudges, by shadow bans that made your posts invisible to all but yourself, by making certain ideas difficult to find, difficult to share, difficult to even conceive of as legitimate. It was brilliant, it was subtle, it was pervasive, and it was working. They had almost perfected the art of manufacturing consent in the digital age. They had wrestled back control from the chaotic promise of the early internet. But then the ground began to shift. Imperceptibly at first, a quiet hum of discontent, a growing skepticism. The sheer volume of information, even the carefully curated kind, began to create cracks in the edifice of control. People, you, started noticing inconsistencies. You started seeing the patterns. You started asking uncomfortable questions in your own minds, in private conversations. Why was the story suppressed while that story was amplified? Why was this opinion labeled misinformation, while an equally questionable but politically convenient one was allowed to spread unchecked? Why did so many experts seem to speak with one unified, monolithic voice, especially on matters of intense public debate? The collective intuition, the innate human drive to seek truth, to detect deception, began to override the carefully constructed reality. They've stopped buying the illusion. They've stopped trusting the gatekeepers. They've started thinking for themselves, often quietly at first, but with growing conviction. And then came Elon Musk, like a disruptor from another dimension, with his audacious, some would say reckless, bid to buy Twitter, his promise of free speech, his vision of X as an unadulterated public square, a platform unbound by political bias or corporate agenda, a place where the algorithms would be open source, where censorship would be a relic of the past, consigned to the dustbin of history. He burst onto the scene, a bull in the delicate, highly curated china shop of digital narrative control, proclaiming he would smash the system. He bought the platform. He rebranded it X. He declared war on bots, on wokeness, on what he perceived as ideological bias. And in doing so, he did something incredibly significant, perhaps even unwittingly. He shined a spotlight, a blinding, uncomfortable spotlight, on the very mechanisms of control he claimed to despise. He forced the conversation into the open. He forced them to react. His actions, his chaos, his sometimes glaring contradictions, they all served a purpose, whether intentional or not. They exposed the raw nerves of power. They laid bare the desperation of those who had grown accustomed to unchallenged narrative supremacy. The advertisers fled. The mainstream media decried him as irresponsible, a threat to democracy. The political establishment recoiled in horror. Why? Not because he was a perfect purveyor of truth, far from it, but because he was threatening their most potent weapon, their ability to control what you believe, their ability to manage the narrative. And then came the outage, the moment X went dark. This wasn't just a technical failure, my friends. This was a test, a stress test of a fundamentally new paradigm. A paradigm where the old power structures are losing their grip. A paradigm where you, the individual, are becoming increasingly aware of the invisible chains that bind your perception. The X outage, in this context, becomes a catalyst. It ripped away the veneer of permanence. It exposed the terrifying fragility of centralized digital control. It showed us unequivocally that even the most powerful platforms, even those owned by the world's richest man, can be silenced, can be taken offline, can be made to disappear, erasing countless conversations, connections, and chronicles of our time. And if one platform, even one as massive and influential as X, can disappear in an instant, what does that say about the entire digital ecosystem? What does that say about the narratives hosted on those platforms? What does that say about the narratives hosted on those platforms? What does that say about the truth being curated there? It asks the terrifying question, who controls the switch? And what happens when they decide to flip it? What's about to happen is not just a shift in social media. It's a fundamental realignment of power, a civilizational pivot. For too long, we've lived under the accepted truth that power flows primarily from institutions, from governments, from corporations, from traditional media. And that power is then wielded, often subtly, to shape belief, to control your worldview, your perception of reality. But the equation is about to reverse. The public skepticism isn't just growing, it's accelerating, it's snowballing. They've seen too much, they've heard too much, they've pieced together too many patterns. And once you see the strings, once you understand how the puppet show works, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to blindly accepting the narrative. That innocence, once lost, is gone forever. This isn't just about what social media platform you choose to use. This is about who gets to tell the story of reality itself. Who gets to define what is true and what is false? And when people lose faith in the storytellers, when they lose faith in the platforms that host those stories, the entire edifice of control begins to crumble. It begins to fracture at its weakest points. This is why they fought Elon Musk so hard. This is why they condemned his every move, his every utterance, his every policy change. Not because he was perfect, far from it. Not because his ideas were always sound. But because he disrupted the one thing they hold most dear, their ability to control the narrative, their ability to manage your belief. The X outage was a tactical episode, a single, fleeting event, but its implications are gargantuan. It's like a tiny hairline crack appearing in a massive, ancient dam. It signals the beginning of the end of monolithic narrative control. The true power you see has always resided with you. It resides in your capacity to think critically, to question everything, to seek multiple, diverse perspectives, to engage in healthy, informed skepticism. This isn't just a cynical act, it's a democratic imperative. It's the ultimate corrective force against tyranny, against manipulation, against the insidious manufacturing of consent that has defined so much of our history. This moment, triggered by an outage, by the precarious dance of a billionaire in his digital town square, is a call to action. Not necessarily a call to protest in the streets, but a call to arms for your mind, to sharpen your discernment, to strengthen your intellectual defenses, to trust your own judgment informed by diverse sources rather than passively accepting the pronouncements of a single, powerful entity. Because when you do that, when enough of you do that, the old game ends. The old playbook becomes obsolete. The carefully constructed reality, once so sturdy, falls apart brick by carefully placed brick. And in its place, a new reality, a more authentic, more truthful reality, has the chance to emerge. One built on individual agency and collective discernment. This is the freedom Elon Musk claimed to be buying. But true freedom cannot be bought. It must be earned by you, through your critical engagement, through your unwavering demand for truth, no matter how inconvenient it might be for those in power. So what is about to happen? A profound shift, a grand decentralization of authority, not just of data, but of truth itself. Power is returning to where it always belonged, to the individual, to you, to your ability to sift, to discern, to decide. This isn't doom, this is opportunity. This is a weakening. This is the moment where the old guard loses its grip, not because they were overthrown by force, but because you simply stopped believing their stories. You stopped playing their game. By the time you finish this video, you understand that this wasn't just a server hiccup. It was a tremor, a sign, a warning to those who would seek to control your perception, an undeniable testament to the latent power within the collective consciousness waiting to be awakened. Elon Musk, for all his flaws and contradictions, became a catalyst, an accidental hero, perhaps in this unfolding drama. His platform's fall, a symbolic earthquake that revealed the fault lines. But the real story, the one they don't want you to know, is that the walls are coming down, not with a bang, but with 1,000 quiet questions. 1,000,000 skeptical minds. The future isn't written yet. It's being written right now by you. What do you think is really going on? What patterns have you noticed? Drop a comment below. Let's keep this conversation going because your perspective matters more now than ever. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more deep dives into the unseen forces shaping our world, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out when we peel back the next layer. Stay curious, stay skeptical, stay free.